Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this week's tutorial. I am going to show you how to make two different base shapes for a macrame wall hanging. Now, this has been one of my best sellers, or several of my best sellers, I'll say, overall when I had a physical products shop. So I'll give you a couple of tips and tricks as we go through. But I'm going to show you how to make a boho arch version and a half moon version. I'm going to be making small versions because I don't have anybody in mind for these. But if you're making samples to sell, I'd recommend making them full size, in other words, as large as your Glowforge can make them, okay? So we're going to start with by clicking on whatever shape is here and holding it down until the shapes pop up. Come to the ellipse tool. Now, I mentioned I'm making a smaller version, so I'm going to do an 8" by 8" ellipse. If you're making the half moon shape, you can do up to an 18" here, okay? So, and again, I recommend doing that because larger personalized items sell really well. Okay, so I have an 8" circle here, and it's got a white fill and a black stroke. I'm going to change that to a black fill and a none stroke, an empty stroke. Okay, so you want any color fill is fine and no stroke. Now I'm going to click and hold and select rectangle tool. I'm just going to click anywhere, and you want a rectangle that is the same width as your circle and half the height. So for my 8" circle, I'm using 8 inches wide and 4 inches height. All right, and I'm going to just change the color of that so we can kind of keep an eye on it. All right, come to your selection tool and just click and drag until both shapes are selected. You can also use select all. Okay, now come over to your properties panel, and if you have this align panel, use horizontal align center, so click that first, and then vertical align bottom second. All right, if not, come up to object align, horizontal align center, and then object align, vertical align bottom. Now what that does is it gets your rectangle, which is exactly the same width and exactly half the height of your circle, situated properly so that you have a perfectly even either boho arch or half circle, depending on where we go. All right, so I'm going to select both of these and just move it over, and then I'm going to copy paste because again, I'm showing you two shapes here. So I'm going to edit, copy, edit, paste, and just move it over. Okay, so with the same shapes, you can make two different shapes. All right, so let's work with this one first. So click and drag till you just have these two selected, and these are not selected. Go ahead to your Pathfinder panel. If you don't have that, it's Window, Pathfinder will open up all of your options. Okay, select both of these and Pathfinder Unite. Okay, and it adds those together, and it's a really beautiful boho arch shape. For the half moon, we're going to click and drag until both are selected, and we're going to use Pathfinder minus front. Look at that. Same beginning shapes, two completely different ending shapes. Okay, we're not done. Now we're going to add the little bar for the macrame rope. Now I use 3mm macrame rope. If you use a different size, adjust accordingly, but I use 3mm. I buy it either from, I don't know how to say it, but Gank Set, or from Amazon. Amazon is fine. Just search 3mm macrame rope and you'll be in good shape. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool. My 3mm macrame rope, it turns out to be like just under 0.12 inches in diameter. So I like to do a rectangle that is, let's see, we had what, 8 inches wide. So let's start off with a 6.5 inch wide by 0.2. You just want a little extra room so that you're not trying to force it, the macrame rope through. Okay, and I actually don't like that width, so let's come on over to the Pathfinder panel, unclick this width and height proportion because we want to keep that 0.2 inch high, and we want to go maybe like a 7.5 inch, maybe like a 7 inch, right? And so just explore until you like your width there, and I think I'm going to end up with a 7.25 inch wide and a 0.2 inch tall. All right, you can go back and re-click or reselect that maintain width and height proportions because I usually like to use that. Okay, so let's just work with this one for now. All right, we are going to zoom into it because I want you to see a couple things. So first, what we're going to do is click and drag to select both of these. All right, and we're going to just use our align tool to horizontally align center it. Again, object, align, horizontal, align, center if you don't have that panel. Now, the next things we need to pay attention to, okay? So we already paid attention to how much room is on either side here, so it's pretty sturdy. But we also want to pay attention to how much room is going to be left underneath. All right, you want a sturdy bar, but you don't want a bar. So let's see, if we did our bar way up here, your knots would look really strange. You don't want it to be that sturdy, although that would be nice. And you don't want it to be right here because then it just wouldn't hold even the weight of the macrame rope probably. All right, so you want to have a good balance between sturdiness and how it's going to look at the end. So you can eyeball it, you can test it. I like about this, and I think that's a roughly 0.3 inches from the edge if you want to, create a little rectangle to check. Let's just see if that's, roughly 0.3. That one is actually 0.28, and I think it'll be just fine. Now, I did move mine all over, so I'm going to realign it just to be sure. Horizontal align center. And then I like to do it this way. You don't have to. I like to do it this way. Select both pieces, so your backing piece and your new rectangle. Actually, before we do that, let's copy and paste our rectangle. Oop, for the other one, so we don't have to remake it. And so select these two, and then Pathfinder, click to minus front. So that just subtracts the shape from the backing. And now, when you swap your fill and stroke, you've got your base shape, and you can add whatever you want. You can add a big initial here. You can add a rainbow pattern up top and a name across it. You can add an engraved pattern, whatever you like. Okay, I'll probably add a cutout name all the way across it. Now, let's work on this one. I'm going to change the color, again, just so that we can see things nicely. And we're going to basically do the same thing here. So I still like that 7.25 inch width. I still like the 0.2 inch height. And again, we just want it high enough that it'll be sturdy and not so high that it looks ridiculous. Okay, so same process here. Select both. Horizontal align center, or object, or align horizontal align center, and then Pathfinder, click to minus front, swap your fill and stroke so you see your base shape. Okay, so these are your two base shapes. You can be as creative as you want with them. All right, and so just for my samples, I'm going to go ahead and engrave Stay Wild, and we'll use Botanista regular font for this. Okay. And that way it is, it's not custom. You could sell the same one over and over and over again. But again, I recommend that if you're selling these maybe on a Facebook group or you're even in your own shop, I really, really recommend spending the time to customize these because people love these for nurseries. They'll sometimes use them as bow holders if they've got a little girl. And so it's just really nice. So if you are doing an engraved font like I am on this one, go ahead and right click it, create outlines, and then Pathfinder, click to unite. Okay, go ahead and select both, object, horizontal align center, and then you'll actually want, this is optional, but my customers usually like it, you want to add some hanging holes here. All right, again, optional, you don't have to do it. You can do the minus front technique if you want. Oops, that's a rectangle. You can do the minus front technique if you'd like to, but I'm not going to bother. I'll just add it here. So click and we'll do a 0.2 by 0.2. You want it to be a stroke, not a fill. You'll want, very likely, 2 of them. So, okay. I'm just going to put them up towards the top. Once you have them about where you want to click and select both of them. Okay, so you can either click and drag, or what I did is click one, hold down shift, click the other to select both. Object align, vertical align center. Okay, object align, vertical align center. Object group them. Why are we grouping them? Because we're about to select the whole thing and do a horizontal align center. And if you don't group them, then these two will both pop into the center. Okay, so this one is finished now. Obviously, once you print it, you'll need to add the macrame rope. Okay, I'm going to just scooch that up a little and make it a smidgy bit bigger. Okay, so I like that. It looks wonderful. Now, on this one over here, I'm going to steal those hanging holes so I don't have to repeat my work. Okay, And if you want, yeah, we're just going to eyeball where it goes and then go ahead and select both horizontal align center. And then it's a good idea to go ahead and just object group the entire thing if you want to. Okay. Here, I'm going to add a big name all the way across. And again, these do really, really well. I'm going to use Gatkins font, but you can use whatever you'd like. And I'm going to do a large name, Charlotte, and then just make the font really big. I'm going to hold down Shift while I resize this so that the proportions stay the same. And I'm going to have it slightly peek off the edge because I really am a big fan of that look these days for whatever reason. Go ahead and right-click, create outlines. Make sure you go to Pathfinder, Unite, so that you get rid of all those extra cut lines here. Go to Object, Path, Offset Path to thicken your font if you need to. I definitely do because I use a really thin font. You may not need to. And then you'll need to kind of click and drag to make sure you're selecting both the original font and the offset. Go to Pathfinder, click to Unite, and now you've got your thicker font. I'm going to go ahead and swap it to a stroke. I'm going to copy paste it and move it off because I want to cut that out of a different font, a different material. I'm going to use an acrylic for that. All right. However, I would like placement guides here. So I'm going to go ahead and Object, Path, Offset Path, and do a negative 0.04 offset and hit OK. Change that to a different color than your cut line. So I like to use green. Okay. And before you do anything else, okay, because right now you've just got the score line selected and you don't have the outline part, just go ahead and copy it. So edit, copy. Now delete it. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one too, and then edit, and this is very important, paste in place. Okay, and that way it goes back to exactly where you wanted it to be. And you don't have to do this, but in case you don't want to waste all this extra space outside of your shape, you can use the eraser tool and just kind of, you don't have to get it all the way there, but just so that you're not wasting like an inch of extra wood on each side. Okay, and now you can go ahead and save this as, I'm going to say, sample macrame wall hangings, and go ahead and save as SVG, hit save. You should have options that allow you to pick some stuff. So make sure you've got SVG 1.0. Make sure responsiveness is unchecked and go ahead and hit OK. So I will likely cut these two out of the same material, and then I will cut that out of 3M backed acrylic. If you make your own wall hangings, please show me. I would love to see what you do. These have there's so many different exciting, fun things that you can do with these and make them your own and really customize them for your customers. And I cannot wait to see what you do with them. If you want to take a deeper dive into file design, check out FileMakers Academy. It's my 5-week file design course. I walk you through from really basic stuff all the way up to super complex stuff. You should see the graduation project. It is amazing. And then I also have a shorter course called Etsy for FileMakers, where if you're designing your own files, you should be selling them. It's a great form of passive income. And so I show you everything you need to know for that. I'll post the links for all of that in the description, along with a tutorial of adding the macrame rope to your finished piece. All right, see you next week.